But the principles of rhetoric were first identified by the philosopher Aristotle in ancient Greece.
Knowledge is porridge.
Oh, Jesus, Stuart, that doesn't even fucking rhyme.
It's probably worth mentioning Aristotle and the Greeks, because they would talk about, first of all, logos, ethos, and pathos. And so logos is making sure it's logical. And it's really important because you need to make sure that your speech has a structure to it and an argument that is logic, so that A follows B follows C. I really like the phrase, and because of that. I really use that a lot with people, which is, I want to make the world better, and because of that I'm doing this. Rather than saying, I'm doing this, and that's because I want to make the world better, which is telling the story backwards.
One nation. We're going to make it happen. And today I'm going to tell you how.
Ethos is about kind of the belief in the person, is about trust. That's about meaning, do I really believe this person? Are they talking and presenting themselves in a way that means I kind of buy into them?
I ask you to accept one thing. Hand on heart, I did what I thought was right.
Pathos is about the emotion, and I think that's really important. I'm talking about how I feel about these things and why they matter to me and how they will, as opposed to just being logical and being impressive. This is about dealing with those emotions.
Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
That's what Aristotle would give us, and if you could do all of those, you're on a winner.
Logic, trust and emotion were the basis of one of the most impressive modern motivational speeches, ranging from lofty ideas to searing pragmatism.
Baghdad tonight, under heavy bombardment, on the day the war started.
Tonight, British servicemen and women are engaged from air, land and sea. Their mission? To remove Saddam Hussein from power and disarm Iraq of its weapons of mass destruction.
We are going into Iraq to liberate and not to conquer. We will not fly our flags in their country. Now, there are some who are alive at this moment who will not be alive shortly. Those of them who do not wish to go on that journey, we will not send them. As for the others, I expect you to rock their world. Wipe them out. If that's what they choose. If you are ferocious in battle, remember to be magnanimous in victory.
This is the dramatised version of Colonel Tim Collins's rousing speech made to his troops, the 1st Battalion Royal Irish Regiment, on the eve of war, March 2003.
It was almost as if, nature had conspired for this moment, because it was an overcast, very grey day. As I looked north towards Iraq, already you could see the black plumes of smoke and the bright orange flames where they'd started blowing up oil wells. So you had this almost Hollywood-esque setting for the epic that was about to happen.
Iraq is steeped in history. It is the site of the Garden of Eden, of the Great Flood. It is the birthplace of Abraham. You tread lightly there.
There's a line in the speech about being ferocious in battle but magnanimous in victory. And there seems to be a whole velvet glove, iron fist thing going on throughout the whole speech. We are conscious of that at all.
And I wanted them to understand that this is only stuff you might have seen in the movies, but it's not like the movies. This is real. You'll see things that no man could pay to see. And you'll have to go a long way to find a more decent, generous and upright people than the Iraqis. You'll be embarrassed by their hospitality, even though they have nothing. Don't treat them as refugees in their own country.
Now, if there are casualties of war, remember that when they got up this morning and got dressed, they did not plan to die this day. So allow them dignity in death. Bury them with due reverence and properly mark their graves.
How important is morale that comes from a speech like that?
I suddenly realised that for many of them, it was probably going to be the end of their young lives, and I wanted them to understand what was happening and why it was happening, so they could cope with that in context. And some of them hadn't even seen their granny dead. I was speaking to them both as my men, I was speaking to them as my children. I wanted them to understand what they could do, and I wanted to make clear what I wouldn't accept.
Incoming!
It's a big step to take another human life, and it's not to be done lightly. I know of men who've taken life needlessly in other conflicts, and I can assure you they live with the mark of Cain upon them.
At times it seems to have echoes of the church sermon. Have you got sermons ringing in your ears?
Being brought up in Presbyterian in Ireland, that's how vicars talk to you, and that's how you expect that to come across.
Let's bring everybody home safely and leave Iraq a better place for us having been there. Our business now is north. Good luck.
Are yours the words that are needed to carry them over that threshold and into battle?
You urge them to choose to go forward by creating the realization that the shame of stepping back is far worse than what could ever happen to you by going forward.
So rather than a bullet in the back, it's the word in the ear.
And a careful reminder, you are a volunteer and you're an Irishman, and there's only one way to go, and that's that way.
Tim Collins' speech used Aristotle's key points of oratory. Logos, explaining to his men what would happen to them in battle. Ethos, appealing to them as comrades and colleagues and friends, trying to get them on side and gain their trust. And then the thing that interests me most as a poet, pathos. Symbols, the use of imagery, trying to elicit an emotional response, a call to bravery and patriotism and decency.